It was a hoot. It was great, you know. And we'd never seen anything like that. I suspect Brian might have.
Yes.
What if the greatest music revolution of all time was built on a secret that could unravel everything? In 1962, a quirky band called the Beatles walked into a studio, but it was the clash of two titans, Paul McCartney and George Martin, that ignited a firestorm of genius. Behind the iconic melodies lies a saga of hidden demos, heartbreaking confessions, and a bond that defies even death itself. Now, a shocking revelation threatens to rewrite their legacy. A lost recording, buried for decades, is about to surface, and McCartney's risking it all to bring it to light. Will this be the final note of their epic journey or a twist that changes history? You won't believe what's coming next. Stick around because this story's just getting started, and the truth will leave you speechless. Back in those early days at Abbey Road, Martin wasn't just tweaking knobs. He was rewriting the rules of music production. On June 6, 1962, a scrappy quartet from Liverpool auditioned, and while the tape didn't blow him away, one voice stood out. Paul McCartney, brimming with ideas, grilled the technicians about soundscapes and harmonies, his energy practically bouncing off the studio walls. Martin, used to calling the shots, saw a spark in this relentless dreamer. But here's the kicker. What started as a clash of wills turned into a creative wildfire that no one could have predicted. Their journey wasn't all smooth sailing. Take Love Me Do. Martin thought it was too basic, a yawn in the making. McCartney, stubborn as ever, fought tooth and nail for it. They hashed it out, sped up the beat, slid the harmonica front and center, and bam, it hit the charts. Then came the drummer drama. Martin pushed to swap Pete Best for Ringo Starr, a move McCartney resisted until he couldn't deny the fit. These early tussles weren't just hiccups. They were the forge where their legendary bond was hammered out. And trust me, the real fireworks were yet to come. Fast forward to 2023, and the spotlight swings back to McCartney with a jaw-dropping revelation. He's been quietly working on unreleased Beatles tracks, using tech to resurrect voices from the past. It's a bittersweet triumph, tinged with the tragic loss of George Martin, who passed in 2016. McCartney's confessed the process feels like a seance, haunting yet healing. Meanwhile, whispers of secret news swirl. A long-lost demo from their peak years, unearthed and set to drop, has fans buzzing. But beneath the hype, there's struggle. McCartney's hinted at the emotional toll, wrestling with memories of Martin's steady hand, guiding him through chaos. Compare that to their golden era, 1965 to 1967, when Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Sgt. Pepper's turned them into studio wizards. Back then, McCartney wasn't just humming melodies, he was dreaming up orchestras. For Eleanor Rigby, Martin ditched guitars for strings, crafting a track that still chills the spine. Their partnership thrived on push and pull, Martin reining in McCartney's wild visions with a French horn here, a tweak there. Now, without Martin, McCartney's navigating solo, and you can't help but wonder, can he recapture that magic alone? Let's zoom in on McCartney's world today, because this man's life is a masterclass in luxury and hustle. He's rolled through town in a sleek Aston Martin DB5, a nod to his rock star roots, and a Lamborghini 400 GT that screams power. His wrist? Adorned with a Rolex Daytona and a Patek Philippe Nautilus, timepieces worth more than some homes. Real estate? He's got a London mansion, a Scottish estate, and a New York penthouse, plus a private jet, a Gulfstream G650 to jet between them. Martin, more low-key, cherished a Bentley Continental and owned a chic London pad and a countryside escape before his passing. Business-wise, McCartney's a mogul. He co-owns MPL Communications, locking down his music rights, and has sunk millions into art and property. Martin built AIR Studios, a production empire that hosted icons, though financial pressures later forced its Montserrat branch to shutter. Insurance. McCartney's covered his gear and tours with top-tier policies, while Martin safeguarded his studios and health in his later years. Their wealth-building screams lessons. Diversify like McCartney. Music, real estate, art. or bank on expertise like Martin, whose reputation drew cash. Still, both faced struggles. Martin's studio costs soared, and McCartney's dodged tax headaches. Rewind to the mid-60s when Martin and McCartney were a creative powerhouse. Tracks like A Day in the Life weren't just songs, they were sonic revolutions. McCartney dreamed up half the tune, John Lennon the other, and Martin? He wove them together with a 40-piece orchestra, masks and hats on the players, crafting a crescendo that stretched nearly a minute. But here's the shocker. That seamless magic was built on tension. McCartney's wild ideas, reverse tapes for Rain, scribbled chords on napkins, pushed Martin to the brink. Yet, Martin didn't just nod along. He set boundaries, trimming excess to keep the spark alive. Their differences weren't flaws, they were the fuel for brilliance. Fast forward to today, and McCartney's recent confession hits like a thunderbolt. He's been grappling with the weight of the Beatles' legacy, admitting the White Album sessions nearly broke him. The tragic loss of Martin in 2016 looms large, leaving McCartney to navigate new projects like unreleased tracks without his anchor. Secret news has fans buzzing. A hidden White Album demo, rumored to feature Lennon's raw vocals, might soon surface. But there's a catch. Financial struggles from that era still haunt. Mismanagement and studio costs drained millions, and McCartney's now racing to secure his empire's future. Back in '68, the White Album was a beast, 30 tracks, each a world of its own. Martin, once the glue, was sidelined as McCartney took the helm. He'd waltz into Abbey Road with full arrangements, play multiple instruments, and even ditch Martin for a separate engineer on tracks like Martha My Dear. The vibe? Pure chaos. Engineer Jeff Emmerich, fed up with McCartney's relentless tweaks, walked out mid-session. Martin, exhausted, later sighed, they weren't a band anymore. And here's the gut punch. This wasn't just a creative split, it was the silent unraveling of a musical dynasty. Compare that to their peak, when Sgt. Pepper's redefined what an album could be. Martin's genius was turning McCartney's whims, like a string-free Eleanor Rigby, into timeless art. Now, McCartney's solo ventures, like his 2020 album McCartney III, show he's still got fire, but the absence of Martin's steady hand stings. A rare bright spot from the White Album? Obla-di, obla-da. Lennon, fed up, stormed in, banged out a new intro on the piano, and McCartney loved it. Martin wrapped it in one take, a fleeting echo of their old spark. So, what's the real story here? It's not just about music, it's about fighting to hold on to harmony when the world's pulling you apart. Now let's dive into McCartney's financial empire, because this man's built a fortress. His net worth? A staggering $1.2 billion in 2025, up from $200 million in the 80s, with projections hitting $1.5 billion by 2030, thanks to touring and licensing. Beyond the London mansion and Gulfstream G650 mentioned earlier, he's got a $50 million Beverly Hills estate and a $15 million Hamptons retreat. His car collection boasts a 1967 Mini Cooper S and a Tesla Model S, while his Audemars Piguet Royal Oak joins his watch lineup. Martin, with a modest $100 million net worth at his peak, owned a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow and a $10 million Wiltshire Manor. McCartney's real estate empire, valued at $200 million, spans New York, Scotland, and Arizona. Martin's $20 million portfolio included a Caribbean retreat. Business-wise, McCartney's MPL Communications controls his catalog, while his vegan food brand, Linda McCartney Foods, rakes in millions. Martin's AIR Studios was a cash cow until costs spiraled. Insurance. McCartney's got policies shielding his tours and art collection. Martin insured his studios and health. Lessons? McCartney's diversification, music, property, food, is a master plan. Martin's focus on production shows expertise can pay, but overexpansion bites. Their struggles, tax battles for McCartney, studio debts for Martin, scream one truth: plan smart or pay later. The White Album's chaos set the stage for a breaking point, but the Let It Be project was the final straw. McCartney handed the reins to an outside team, and when Phil Spector's heavy-handed strings drowned The Long and Winding Road, McCartney was livid. He called Martin, venting, "It's not my song anymore." Martin's reply was ice cold. "You let someone else take it, Paul." That moment wasn't just a clash, it was a wake-up call. Martin stepped back not out of spite, but clarity, refusing Beatles projects as their era closed. Here's the twist. Their bond didn't die, it transformed, proving some connections outlast even the biggest storms. Fast forward to 2025, and McCartney's latest revelation hits like a lightning bolt. He's been quietly funding a documentary about Martin's unsung contributions, a heartfelt tribute to the man who shaped his sound. The tragic loss of Martin in 2016 still stings, but McCartney's confession, that he feels Martin's presence in every note he writes, adds a haunting layer. Secret news stirs the pot. A vaulted recording of their post-Beatles work might drop soon, teasing fans with unheard gems. Yet, financial struggles lurk. McCartney's recent investments, including a tech startup, have hit rough patches, raising questions about his next move. Rewind to 1973 and their reunion for Live and Let Die was a game-changer. McCartney crafting a James Bond anthem called Martin to produce. Far from Abbey Road, they slipped back into sync, McCartney with a killer chorus, Martin weaving orchestral magic. The track didn't just slay, it redefined Bond music, proving they didn't need the Beatles to shine. Compare that to their Beatles peak, where tracks like Revolver pushed boundaries. Now, free from band politics, their collaboration was purer, built on trust, not tension. But here's the kicker. Could they keep that spark alive as the years rolled on? The 80s brought a new chapter with Tug of War and Pipes of Peace. Martin, now in his 50s, wasn't just twiddling knobs. He was shaping albums, suggesting Stevie Wonder for a duet that floored fans. McCartney, post-Wings, leaned on Martin's meticulous ear, and the result? Tug of War became a career highlight, a testament to their reborn synergy. Unlike the White Album's fractures, this era was smooth, almost effortless. Yet their bond wasn't chummy lunches or public hugs. Martin kept a shelf of McCartney's demos, not for work, but joy. Giles Martin later shared, "Dad smiled knowing Paul was still creating." That quiet respect defined them. Let's talk money. McCartney's empire is a beast. His $1.2 billion net worth, built from $300 million in the 90s, eyes $1.6 billion by 2032, fueled by streaming and tours. His real estate, worth $220 million, includes a Tuscany villa and a Bahamas getaway. He cruises in a Porsche 911 Turbo and sports a Cartier tank watch alongside his Patek Philippe. Martin, with a $100 million peak, owned a Jaguar E-Type and a $12 million Oxfordshire estate. McCartney's private jet, a Dassault Falcon 7X, logs global miles, while Martin preferred commercial flights. Business? McCartney's stake in a music tech firm faltered, but his MPL empire thrives. Martin's AIR studios faced losses, teaching a hard lesson: scale smartly. The Beatles' breakup left scars, but Martin and McCartney found a way to heal through music. Their post-Beatles work, Live and Let Die, Tug of War, proved they didn't need the band's spotlight to soar. Yet when Martin passed, McCartney's tribute was raw. He was a genius, a gentleman, a second father. Those words, rare for a man so private, hit deep. At a small Oxfordshire memorial, McCartney played a 1981 demo, edited by Martin, labeled Unfinished but Honest. Here's the jaw-dropper. That demo, now slated for release, could redefine their legacy, sparking whispers of a final collaboration from beyond. In 2025, McCartney's latest confession shakes the music world. He admits to nightly talks with Martin's voice in his head, guiding his compositions. This isn't just nostalgia, it's a lifeline. The tragic loss of Martin left McCartney adrift, but secret news fuels excitement. A planned orchestral album, inspired by Martin's techniques, is in the works. Financial struggles, though, cast a shadow. A recent publishing deal soured, costing millions, and McCartney's racing to protect his fortune. Compare this to their 60s peak when Sgt. Pepper's rewrote history. Now, McCartney's forging ahead solo, but Martin's shadow looms large, a compass for every note. Their bond was never about grand gestures. Martin's notes, revealed post-2016, tell the tale. Paul's not easy, but he kept me sharp. Another scribble reads, I gave structure, he gave purpose. McCartney, in turn, credits Martin's lessons, using silence, balancing acoustics for his craft. In 2023, he took a stand against AI recreating artist voices, saying, no machine can capture the silence we shared. That's the real hook. Their connection wasn't just music, it was a shared language built on respect, not rivalry. And just when you think it's over, McCartney's next move keeps you guessing. Let's dive into McCartney's empire, because this man's wealth is a saga of its own. His net worth, $1.2 billion in 2025, climbed from $400 million in the 90s, with projections hitting $1.7 billion by 2035, driven by royalties and NFTs. His real estate, valued at $250 million, spans a Greek island retreat and a Toronto condo. He's traded his Porsche for a McLaren 720S and added a Vacheron Constantin overseas to his watch collection. His Dassault Falcon 7X jet still flies, a symbol of... Business-wise, McCartney's MPL Communications is a cash machine, but a failed streaming venture lost $20 million. His collaboration with a sustainable fashion brand, though, is soaring. Martin's AIR studios struggled with debts, sold off in the 90s. Insurance? McCartney's policies guard his catalog and health. Martin covered his studios and legacy. Lessons? McCartney's catalog ownership is a goldmine. Control your art. Martin's overambition warns, don't outgrow your roots. Both dodge legal battles, teaching us, diversify but stay vigilant. Here's the stunner. McCartney's latest gamble, a music education app, could either skyrocket or sink. Their story isn't just about fame, it's about legacy. McCartney's 2022 chat with Giles Martin revealed he still hears Martin's voice. Is this for the song or your ego? That question keeps him grounded. Unlike the White Album's chaos where egos clashed, their later years were harmony. Two masters, no hierarchy. McCartney's upcoming album, blending Martin's orchestral flair with modern tech, proves he's not done evolving. The financial hits, the emotional weight of loss, the drive to honor Martin, it's a masterclass in perseverance. And as McCartney teases one last track, you can't help but wonder, what final note will this duo leave us with?